Hi, if you are here, you probably either plan to buy Battle Brothers, or you already did and got lost. Well, fear not, my friend. I will tell you the basics right now, and you can check the topics with the timecodes in the description for specific basics you need. So let's jump into it. Battle Brothers is basically a resource management game. Even though the only currency is gold, there are other resources like food, tools, ammunition, and the very soldiers themselves you have to take care of. Let me explain. You will need to hire soldiers very often because they will die really quickly. Once you hire them, you're gonna have to pay them for their work, obviously. They will also need to eat, and as their leader, it's your duty to have enough food for them. Ammunition is needed for your archers, and the tools are used to repair your belongings. Helmets, armors, weapons, and shields, they can all be repaired by your soldiers, and your soldiers will always repair their own equipment. So don't worry about that too much, just make sure you have enough tools for everybody. You will always start the game with 3 soldiers. The game tells you to hire more. Now, the cool thing about this game is that you can create a party exactly the way you want to do. You can buy 3 soldiers with somewhat good equipment to start with the amount of gold you have at the beginning, or you can hire a lot of dudes with bad equipment, but you could raise the numbers. It's all up to you. Let's take a look at soldiers and their belongings now. You see how much hit points the helmet and armor can take before it breaks. But quick note, enemies don't have to bring this to 0 to kill your troops. They help to keep your troops alive, but they don't prevent their death, so be careful. Hit points is quite self-explanatory. This icon here is your action points. I will talk about that later at the battle system part. Then we have stamina or fatigue. Depending on how strong your unit is, you will be fatigued in battles sooner or later. The heavier their equipment is, the sooner they get fatigued. Logical, right? I strongly advise you to keep this at least 80 or above, or your guy will die really early on. Steady is a mental condition. Your troops' morale is very important. If it's too low, they will suffer skill penalties, might even act on their own or flee from battles. This is not a skill you can control directly, so you can't grind this up by leveling up. Be careful about that. Bravery is literally what it sounds like. If your guy is a chicken, he will try to flee from battle, which is a huge pain in the ass when it happens, so be very careful about that. But the good news is you can actually level bravery up, so you can slowly prevent that to happen way too often. Initiative will determine the order of movements in battles. The higher the initiative is, the sooner the unit will move. Um, this is a turn-based battle system, so the sooner your guy moves, the better, right? Melee skill is, well, anything that you don't throw. Swords, spears, axes, maces, halberdies, whatever. So it's really up to you what to use or how to use them. I will talk more about the weapons soon, but first let me finish explaining the skills. Range skill is for bows, crossbows, throwing axes, or throwing spears. Again, it's up to you which one you want to use in battles. Melee defense and range defense and damage is again self-explanatory, I believe. This icon, however, shows how efficient your character against armors. These are sort of the tank characters or first line characters, most likely. There is no troop movement phase in the battle system, so the battle system will place these guys in the front. The skull represents the chance of a critical hit, which is what you want to do, although to be honest, I didn't really care about that percentage. I'm more like a defensive player, so I'm more concentrated on getting a very high and geared defense before thinking about the attacking part. But again, you can play however you want. You can concentrate in this part. I don't think you can grind this skill eater directly.
But you can learn perks to boost it instead.
Visions just show how much tiles in battles will reveal once you move your unit.
But also, if this goes below 7, your troop will receive a small penalty of range defense. So I wouldn't advise you to do this with your archers because they are the most vulnerable most of the time.
Now, very basic information before we jump into the battlefield. Spears are best to keep your opponent at a distance, very good to defend your troops. Axes destroy shields and armor faster. Blunt weapons stun your enemies. Swords can go into tiny little gaps to deal good damage. As far as I can tell, they're good against all type of weapons. I'm not 100% sure on that one though. Watch out for polearms though, because they can attack from 2 tiles distance. They're dealing huge amount of damage, so you might want to get rid of them as soon as possible. So the battle system is very simple. The higher a unit's initiative is, the faster they can act. You have 9 action points. Moving 1 tile is usually costs 2 action points, or AP for short, but it can be 3 if you are on heavy terrain like swamps. To perform an attack is either 4 or 6, depends on your weapon type and what move you want to force. Whenever 2 opposing units land next to each other, they will have to fight. You can try to move away, but if you fail, you will take damage and you stay right there, not to mention the 2 action points that you lose on that turn, so it's very risky and I don't advise you to do that. What you have to avoid at all cost is to fight enemies from a lower ground. It's a huge advantage or disadvantage, question of your point of view, of course. Use this very wisely and don't let the enemy strike from above. You want to be above. You want to fight from higher ground. It's a massive advantage and a very dividing factor in battles. When you fight in a swamp area, you want to stand on grass or dirt tiles, because every swamp tile has penalties. So be careful about that one too. Whenever you see this red icon with a shield and an arrow, it means that the arrow might hit someone else. No worries if you shoot at a group of enemies, of course, but when you shoot your own guys, it's very bad news for you. You should also be aware that ranged weapons have a massive penalty if you have a fight during the night. Since this is a beginner's guide, I will also mention that you don't want to fight greenskins for as long as it can be avoided. Orcs are tough as hell and stun you very aggressively, and goblins are sneaky little bastards and they play very defensively, which I find really hard to fight against. So be patient before you go against them, alright? Now, whenever you go into a town, you can see little parchments at the upper left corner. These are your available contracts. The amount of skulls above are rough estimations of the job's difficulty, so obviously for starters you want to go for contracts with 1 skull. Your troops will only level up from battles though, so you will need to battle to grind your people. If your soldier gathered enough experience and levels up, you can improve 3 skills of your choice and develop a perk from the perk tree. In the towns you can also buy equipment, food, ammunition, hire people. Not everything at every town, it really depends on the settlement itself, but these are things you can do so far. You can also buy battle dogs or battle hounds, or what to call them. They act at their own. They can help you to discover the battlefield or just make sure that the enemy attacks the dog instead of your archer, or again, it really depends on your approach, how to use it. One more thing before you create your company and start gathering people to fight on your side. You can make encampment with this icon. It will make time fly faster, but more importantly, your troops will heal faster, take some rest, and repair their equipment faster. So you can do this at night. That's what I usually do because you can't enter towns at night. Nothing is available at night time, of course. I really hope this guide was useful and you found the answers you were looking for. If not, let me know what was missing by listing them in the comments below. And don't forget, we fight as brothers, we die as brothers.